Okay, this is going to be hopefully a short video on monetary systems and central bank digital currencies, which I believe there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of confusion about how the present system works, and there's even more confusion, which is leading to fear about how the new system will work. So let's start with blockchains, because this is what will be running the new financial system. And so you have to make a really clear distinction between private blockchains and public blockchains. So central bank digital currencies, which is the focus of everyone at the moment, is a private blockchain. I'm not going to go too much into what blockchains are because it'll be a whole separate video, but I have done one on that. But basically a blockchain is just a ledger. It's a list of accounts, and if it's private, then the owner of that blockchain can change the number in the accounts. It can freeze the wallets. It can do what it likes, really. And that is what a centralized Bank of England digital currency will be. Bank of England will be able to change your accounts and will be able to freeze your accounts. This is obviously causing some fear. It's worth pointing out right now that that can happen. Private banks can freeze your account. They can block your transactions. They can see everything you're doing and buying. So that wouldn't be any different. Obviously, we can print from our digital bank accounts into the real world, and this is obviously what people are hooked up on. Before we go into that, let's quickly look at the other side of blockchains, which actually is what kicked off blockchains. It's public blockchains, like Bitcoin, that are decentralized. Nobody owns them. Nobody can change the numbers on those ledgers. No one can freeze wallets from sending Bitcoins to other wallets. That was like one of the major points of creating Bitcoin, that it cannot be controlled by a central authority. A key part is it can't be printed by a central authority. So right now, central banks can print money, cause inflation, and the cash you're holding is worth less. That can't happen with public blockchain. They're almost all deflationary now. They're almost all got a set mechanism for introducing new money into the system. So they're anti-inflationary. But on this point, the key point that I was talking about is control. So yeah, there's no way central authority can control your public Bitcoin wallet. They just can't do it. So in that sense, it certainly is an improvement on even the present system, unless of course you're talking about printing cash. First, what we should look at is the new monetary system will not be just central banks. It will be central banks and public blockchains. So the central banks will be used just as they are today to print money, introduce it into the system, to pay state wages. But really importantly, it will be used to collect taxes, just like today. And that's what gives a currency its function and its value. It is used to pay taxes. If the government didn't collect taxes in pounds, they would be next to worthless. People wouldn't use them. They'd use something else. It's a critical part of it. And also, don't realise that the only value of that pound, whether it be in a cash or in your bank account, is the stability of that government. If that government goes under, if its economy goes under, that money starts to become worthless, whether it's in cash form or in digital form. So I do find it a little bit hypocritical that people want to keep cash because they don't want the government. They don't want there to be a government because they don't want to pay taxes, but they want to keep cash that the government prints, and they want that cash to have a stable value that doesn't just plummet. I mean, this is strange logic. But let's ignore that. Let's just focus on this notion of cash. So in the future digital economy, businesses will have to pay their money in digital pounds. They have to pay their taxes in digital pounds. It doesn't mean they have to accept digital pounds, the payment of goods. That would be a legal thing imposed by a government. And we're going to come to this right at the end. This is the issue at play here is governments, not technology. So you can, and they'll need to pay their wages in digital pounds. This is the same today. Like, you have to pay your wages in pounds. You can't be giving people gold for their wages. And for tax avoidance, this is good. You need a business to be able to show it's paid its employees correctly, and that's the amount of tax, income tax that will be taken off the employee, and it needs to pay its taxes in pounds, and that whole system of paying taxes being transparent and controllable by the government is a good thing for tax collection. If you're arguing that you want to pay your employees in cash, then you're arguing for tax avoidance. Just like Amazon, you're doing it a different way. Amazon does it by fancy legal terms and other things. You're just doing it by pretending you're not paying these people at all and just giving them money. So you're a tax avoider. And if, let's just keep it on that, if you want cash so you can avoid tax, then you really are, like, what are you doing living in this society? Seriously. Do you use public roads? Do you use public healthcare? Do you use public education? Were you educated publicly? Were the people who build the technology you rely on educated publicly? I mean, at what point is your selfish individualism going to wake up to the fact that society requires taxation and requires tax to function like it does today, or even remotely? And even if you are lucky enough to have a piece of land and already have a house on it and already got all the technology you want, like a laptop and stuff, you can't sustain yourself. You can't reproduce that laptop. You can't even reproduce the house. Are you, like, mining the copper that goes into the plumbing? Are you creating the computer chips that go into your laptop? Are you creating the solar panels that you use to harvest electricity? Like, how much realistically do you produce on whichever plot of land you have? 2%? 5%? Almost all of that will be your food. But the actual industrial or physical realities that you're using, almost none of that can be produced by an isolated individual, or even an isolated community, or even a city. It's just vast, the amount of different resources now required to do these things. And if you're arguing that you want cash so you can return to literally a hunter-gatherer lifestyle, then you're very confused, because you don't need cash at all for that. You just raid the settlers to get what you want. And you'll be hunted down and killed, so that isn't viable either. So just move back to what we were talking about. But so the present system today is completely traceable. You have a bank account. It can be frozen by a private bank, not even the government, by a private bank. It can stop you spending your money, and is entirely viewable. If you're buying anything via your credit card, by a debit card, by a bank account, completely viewable. So the present system we have now is more viewable than a decentralized blockchain is. And it only seems now that with central banks coming in, printing a digital currency, now this problem of being traceable comes to the fore. Seems a bit strange. But yeah, people say they want cash. But how much can you buy with cash? Can you buy a house? Can you pay your rent? Can you pay your bills? Can you pay your employees? Can you buy a car? Can you buy a laptop? Can you buy a phone? What can you buy with cash, really? And then how do you get your cash? You need someone to pay you in cash, don't you? So how are they paying you in cash? What are you selling? Are you selling goods that you've grown? maybe that will get you enough money. You know, you're part of a society that uses money for trade. And actually, if the government wanted to trace you, they could trace you. You know, it's not that hard. They just, you know, I mean, they know where you live if you live on a little small holding. But yeah, the limitations of what you can really buy with cash is pretty vast. And the more businesses that you know, will be forced into this system, which they're already in, paying and using pounds, why would they accept your cash? Especially, you know, what happens when, like, the banks print a new banknote? You're going to have to go to the banks to get the new banknote, aren't you? Or hand in your old banknotes, or just hope someone accepts all of your old banknotes and gives you new banknotes. So you're part of the system. You're in complete denial that you are, but you're part of it. And really, it sounds like it comes down to the fact you just don't want to pay tax. And what about that? You know, you just want to give your friends a little bit of money, or you want to just buy a few things you don't want people to know about it. But like I said, that is totally viable. It is more viable actually in a decentralized blockchain, because those wallets won't be attached to your name. You can have a wallet that is not attached to you in any way, but it's yours. You've got it in your possession, and you can send value through those tokens to your friend if you want to, no problem. Or you can go into a shop, buy stuff if they accept that token, which I think they will. This will be the broader length that multiple tokens will be accepted in shops, because ultimately all the government wants to do is collect the tax revenue. So as long as it can see the accounts of that business and be like, well, you took 10,000 digital pounds, and you took 10,000 XRP, and you took 2,000 Bitcoin, 20%. Just give me 20% of that in pounds. They don't care who bought it, and they could look at the wallets and be like, well, we don't know who owns that wallet, and yeah, they could investigate you if they wanted to. They could, you know, get someone to watch you, and then watch when you buy, and then be like, well, that's triggering every time he's buying, so that's his wallet. And then you can change your wallet, and they have to do the whole thing all over again. And those are even the ones that are publicly traceable. Like, you can get ones which are not traceable. When you do that transaction, it does not send the address of the wallet. They're completely untraceable, and they're probably going to be banned. But the important thing here is the government needs to control business. It doesn't need to control individuals. It needs to control businesses and business spending, corporations, things like that. Private and public blockchains could be used to severely curtail corporations' ability to pay, you know, to avoid taxes. And you know, if the volume gets to a certain degree, then they can come after those individuals. If they're trying to use loopholes and stuff, they can do what they do anyway now, and just send someone to investigate you, and they'll be able to find out, you know, if you're being skimmed off a couple of Bitcoin by your corporation, like a bonus. You know, here's your wage, here's your Bitcoin. Don't tell anyone about the Bitcoin, kind of thing. Well, that happens now anyway, and it can be traced just like it could be now. And this will come again to the point that this isn't a technological problem. This is a social problem. It's a legal problem. It's a state problem. So yeah, I don't know where we got to now, but I think people are living in an illusion that they think the cash that they have in their hand is somehow tangible. It's just a piece of paper with a dead woman's face on it, wearing a silly hat. It only has value because the state has printed it, said it has value. As soon as that state goes under because you didn't pay your taxes, this piece of paper doesn't work anymore. It's just crazy individualism to think that, like, you know, this has some tangible reality out of a collective social whole. But a new system could be brought in that is combining private and public blockchains, so that you can still keep the benefits of having cash. You can have, an XRP wallet on a piece of plastic, and you can just scan your mate's piece of plastic or your phone or whatever, and voila, you've given him some money. No one knows about it. Obviously, if you keep doing that with large sums of money, you can be investigated, found out to be breaking tax laws, and thrown in prison. Just like you could today with cash. Same thing. It's not, it's a little bit easier because you don't actually have to be next to someone with a digital one. You can just send it. And yeah, there's going to be obviously huge problems with that. But this is where I think the crux of it comes to. Is all the problems we're facing, they're not technological problems. They are political problems. Right now, the rich are avoiding tax because they know how to use all the loopholes. All the loopholes are set up for them. The only loophole the poor people have is paying in cash. And if you get caught doing it, you'll be fined because it's tax avoidance. If you're paying your labourers in cash, you'll be caught out. Just like in this system, you could pay your labourers in a decentralised private blockchain and avoid the tax. But you'll get found out, won't you? If the state has the will to do it. So this is where people should be focusing on, not on a new piece of technology and being like, oh my god, this is so authoritarian, da, da, da. It's like, no, your state is authoritarian. Do something about your state. Doesn't matter what monetary system you have. If you've got an authoritarian state, they'll come after you. They'll let the rich avoid their taxes, and they'll make sure you pay your taxes. Doesn't matter if you've got cash in existence or not. So this is what people should be looking at, not running away to their own little islands and their own little kind of retreats and stuff, but realizing that we are part of a society, we're part of a species. We need to come together, and we need to demand proper political representation in a system that properly represents us, not the farce that we have today. That is the crux of everyone's problems and fears, but they're not doing anything about it, are they? Are they actively trying to undermine the right-wing capitalist authoritarian system that we live under, and try to replace it with one that is more directly democratic and more directly representative and more dispersed and decentralized? Because if they did, I think there's good arguments for showing that digital currencies can be used to function, to make that system function. The internet can be used to make that system function. AI could be used to make that system function. Automation could be used to make that system function. Like there's nothing necessarily inherent about a lot of these technologies that make them authoritarian. It's because we live in authoritarian political systems and we're refusing to do anything about them. And those people who want to, hide away from that fight and just stuff a load of state-endorsed pieces of paper under their mattress whilst complaining about the authoritarian state, well, I think it just is delusionary. And almost certainly you're relying on privileges that you already possess, like land, assets and stuff like that, which are unavoidably connected to the whole system we live under, and you're just pretending that you don't live in our system. You've got just enough freedom and autonomy to cover yourself in an illusion. But you break it probably every day. Every time you come on the internet, you break it. You just don't realise. So if you're watching this, you're not living in an isolated, fully sustainable community. And you should join the fight. You should try to bring forward a different political system. It's not just about money now, it's about everything. It's about consumption patterns and everything. So, yeah. Hope that helped explain some things.